Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Eugene Honrath from Shadow Warriors. I've got Denny Furey from Fury Urban Combat Knives here for his Meet the Maker interview. How are you, man?
All right, how are you?
Good, good, good. Thank you so much for joining us. So, give me a little quick synopsis of who you are, where you're located. Tell me about your company name and then the products that you create.
Okay, like I said, it's Denny Furey. I'm located here in Spring, Texas, which is North Houston.
Okay.
Fury's Urban Combat Knives Unlimited, primarily focus on custom knives, pry tools, some friction folders, hatchets, things of that nature.
Awesome. Okay. So give me your background and then let's go into how you got into knife making.
Okay. Well, I actually started knife making less than a year ago, back in December 2015. Um, I had worked 20 years in law enforcement,
Okay.
um, got out of that, and then went to work in child advocacy. I was living up in Oklahoma at the time, in Oklahoma City, and my wife's company shut shop up there and relocated us down to Houston. Well, I didn't want to jump back in and look into something, going back into law enforcement again or what I was doing prior. And a friend of mine, Mike Cleveland of Half Life Knives, we actually worked together in law enforcement up in Oklahoma. And he knew about my background in edge weapons and in collecting knives. And throughout there, he goes, "Why don't you just try making them?" So I jumped in both feet as soon as we got a house down here, converted my garage into a shop, and started working on knives. I mean, basic stock stuff I bought from Harbor Freight and everything.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, right now I'm still working on a self modified 2x42, getting ready to upgrade to a Fear. But yeah, I mean, I've just started going at it full bore and actually seem to have a knack for it.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. I've seen some of your work. So, and we're, you and I are working on a project together, which we'll announce at a later date. But tell me about your history in law enforcement or your past in law enforcement. What exactly did you do?
Actually, I started my first exposure into law enforcement. I was in the military. I was in the U.S. Air Force security police. I was back in. This is going to give my age up a little bit. I went in '89 to '93 active duty. I served in Desert Shield, Storm, Provide Comfort, Poised Hammer. Uh, got out. Then went into civilian law enforcement. After 9/11, I went back into the reserves for another 6 years in security forces.
Nice.
Um, so during that time period, I mean, I've worked everything from patrol. I started off as a patrolman. I worked my up all the way up through the ranks to chief of police. Uh, my big thing that I really enjoyed doing was tactical operations. So I went into SWAT and actually became a SWAT instructor. Got my master certification, and that's when I really started. Guys wanted to carry knives on them. A lot of departments were getting knife policies. So the stuff that we had in the military, from my martial arts and combatives background, and then into law enforcement, we started implementing that into the curriculum I wrote for SWAT schools once you hit intermediate and advanced. Because I mean, a lot of situations you come in close quarters, firearms are going to be hard to pull. So knives is the next best option for close quarters. And they're used, not just as a weapon, but as a tool. So being able to know the difference and escalation of force and everything is why the knife concepts I come up with are really based at self defense, combat, and fighting type style knives.
So a lot of the if you look at Denny's um, the shapes of his knives, they're not just your regular bushcrafter or little EDC or big chopper, but they've got a bunch of unique shapes. And you're telling me that those shapes are purpose driven, that there's a reason for those and why
Yeah,
you can use them.
and I mean, I do other customs, like I do hunting knives and EDCs and things like that. But there's items like this one here. It's a karambit, but I modified it and put a war toad um, blade configuration on it. So it's got a dual edge. It's close, so you can cut and rip with it as well. That, and then these are another popular one that I come up with now. This is a necker version of my Feta, which is a small fighter. It's got a dual edge. Also put a window breaker on it as well.
Nice.
And actually making a few of these for some SWAT guys out in Louisiana to have on their gear. So, I mean, a lot of the ones like that, and I make sure I build templates and everything else, make sure that they're ergonomic, they feel good in the hand, and that they're going to be able to be used for practical application, not just be a showpiece.
Awesome. Okay, so tell me a little bit about, now that you know your background, don't ever gloss over that, oh, 20 years, oh, no, no. No, man, people want to know about, they want to know the details of it. So tell me about your company, how you got to the name, and then who's involved in it. Is it just you? Do you have some workers? So tell me a little bit about the company.
Okay. I actually was playing around with the name, and this was back uh, about October, November of last year when I started playing with the idea of going into knife making. And my last name's always unique. I mean, and the thing is, people always mess with my name. When I was a law enforcement officer or in the military, Sergeant Furey, everybody just started calling me, where's my Howling Commandos? I'm like, okay, yeah. So I just started playing with it because of the concepts in working in law enforcement and in mountain situations in the military, urban combat. So I started playing with the name, and the anagram and the acronyms are coming up, and I was like, Fury's urban combat knives, and I was like, hey, that's a pretty good acronym to put around the symbol. You get the F.U.C.K.U, and then my wife decided to throw out there. She goes, why don't you put like a U of some sort on the end, like unlimited, and that's how we came up with the name. I mean, it was off the cuff, but it actually sticks. And I mean, people get a kick out of it when they actually, I don't say anything. They actually realize it when they look at the company logo and see it around the outside. He goes, am I seeing what I'm seeing? Yes.
So
that's exactly what it is.
So that's kind of funny that you say that, because when we had the active shooter video that we did, and I appreciate you doing that for us, and when we had that discussion, a lot of people really appreciated that and enjoyed that, and it helped them out a lot. So I got a lot of good feedback on it. But it was after that, a couple weeks, I was like, looking at your stuff, and then I was like, oh. Okay, all right, okay. So yeah, no, it's good. You almost don't even have to say it. Is that it's like a realization people come to. So I love that.
Yeah, and it's plain as day once you look at the symbol. I mean, you can see it up there on the wall, but the thing around the outside, it was playing with it, trying to get it so it wasn't super obvious, but it was obvious because I drive around with graphics in my truck. I picked myself from school. Yeah, I'm sure I'd tick off some parents when they look in the window like, oh, that's just uncalled for. But it's not really picked up on until people realize it. And then you go to my page and I refer to everybody as a certain name. So
yeah, people don't pay attention that much. So they look at it, they're like, oh, there's knives and a funny mask on there. They don't actually read it or even comprehend it. So I don't think it's too bad. So you gave me a little bit about, you've already answered some of the questions on how you got into it and kind of what you specialize in. So tell me a little bit about what you like. So we're almost a year in for knife making. What do you like most about making low production and custom knives?
My thing is I honestly I've never been handy. I had a hard time putting up drywall. So when I started doing this, it was like it was difficult. I mean, but I love the learning process. I love taking the creative aspect of it and going from the concept design when you first draw it on paper to actually transferring it to a piece of stock, to removing that stock and cutting out the shape and making something from start to finish with your own hands in a product that actually is practical, useful, extremely durable, and that people actually like. And I love getting the feedback from my customers. I mean, I recently had one, the one my son helped me make. Guy took it out to Louisiana for the floods and was using it, and he said he batoned that thing, tore it up, and he says, and it held up to all that. And that's why I did a video here not too long ago of taking one of those after heat treat and batoning through a piece of steel with it and showing the edges of the fold. I mean, those I make my knives, to take a beating and keep going.
Yep. So that leads me into two questions. What kind of steels do you use or have experience with, and then do you do your own heat treating overall?
Yes. Right now, I work with quench steels. Actually, after the first of the year, I'm going to start delving into stainless. But I work with 1075, 1084, 1095, 80 CRV2, tool steels, working with O1, Damascus. I'm getting ready to work on some Hitachi Blue Sanmai, things of that nature. Because I mean, and plus I've got a process down at the end where the coatings and stuff I put on the blades, and they hold up to the rust and stuff that a lot of carbon steels tend to lean towards. And as far as heat treat goes, yeah, that was the biggest part of my overhead. I wanted to do everything like that in house, so I bought a Paragon heat treat oven when I first got into it. That was the biggest part of my overhead. But having the mentors I did with Mike Cleveland from HLK, and then with my Karambits, Scott Horn of Airborne Knives, um, I was able to tweak in my heat treating for the different metals and everything else and dial it in. I mean, the first couple of ones, yeah, I screwed them up, just not paying attention to it and not heating them right or doing the normalized right, and you could tell the blade would fold or it would bend in heat treat. But over the first couple of months of doing it, I was able to tune it in. So yeah, all the heat treat and everything else like that is done in house. I mean, I do everything from start to finish. I got a big order coming up right now. And this is the first time I'm having blanks water jetted off of a template blank that I made because I just have so many to make. I'm going to be grinding them forever.
Okay, awesome. And that's that big Bowie that you made.
Yeah, the Texas Warrior one.
Awesome, awesome. So do you do custom work, or is it kind of like, hey, this is what I make, you like it, buy it, awesome, no? Or can someone to come together to you with a sketch and put it together?
Yeah, and I primarily do custom work now. Like I said, I try to focus on combat, self-defense, and fighting knives, but I do hunting knives, EDCs. I'm doing quite a few of those right now in this batch I'm working with now. So I mean, I'll work with a customer uh, to get them what they want, and then ones that I have a high volume of or a lot of requests, I call them rotation pieces. So I'll make some during each batch, so I have them on hand and I can sell them for people who request them because I mean they're highly requested. So like the battle cleavers and things of that nature, I'll make a few of those as I go along.
So tell me, what's the craziest request you've got?
Honestly, it's going to be this big batch I've got. When I made that Texas Bowie, I mean the heat treat that I think I talked to you earlier about that. I had a problem during that heat treat where my transformer blew.
Yep.
And it screwed. That big Bowie was in there, and I thought when I had to quench it really quick, and I was thinking I screwed up because I was trying to get a really good Hammond on it. So thought I had screwed that batch up. When I pulled it out and I hand sanded that thing for 2 or 3 hours, and finally the Hammond started coming out, and I was like, "Oh, good save!" And it turned out really nice. Turned out better than I expected. And I posted. I advertise on Facebook and on LinkedIn. Well, I've been getting a lot of business off of LinkedIn lately, and I posted that knife over there before I had sold it, and I got contacted from a VP of a hardware company here in Texas. He fell in love with the knife, and he was like, "Can you make me some more of those?" And I was like, "I can make a few more." He asked how big that one. I said, "That's a 13-inch knife." I said, "You're not going to be able to legally carry it around daily." I said, "You can use it to go out in the woods and everything else, but you're not going to be able to legally carry it." He goes, "Can you make something legally for me?" And I said, "Sure, I can knock it down to 10 inches and make it a 5.5-inch blade." He goes, "I need 20 of them." I literally, my jaw hit the floor, and I was like, I make these by hand, and I'm not using a CNC machine and all that. And he goes, "Oh no, I'm aware of that." I was like, "All right." And I mean, from there, I mean, and this has only been about a month,
Yeah.
and started working on logistics and getting the stuff together I need and everything else. And that's one of the main reasons recently I had to close my books because of the current orders I have. And then this big order just got dropped on me out of nowhere. And I wasn't expecting, especially being a maker for less than a year.
Nice.
So I was pretty taken back by it, also extremely flattered. So, and he actually bought the big one too, received it and everything else. And he's got it hanging up in his office.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great to hear. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So, well, it's good to know that you're still learning and you're perfecting your craft, and that people trust you enough to do those big orders, because it takes a lot of trust to buy 20 of something. So he must have saw something in you.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, that's the one thing is, I mean, I like when I train my officers or train the guys in the military. The one thing is, if you ever stop learning in the field you're in the wrong field because you never stop learning. And that's the one thing I love about this because I'm always learning new stuff. I'm picking minds of other makers, and just trying different approaches when I make knives and all that to put out a better product, and also just to try new things and see how it comes out.
Nice, awesome, man. So I know you sell all of your knives. Have you done any bartering? And if so, have you gotten any crazy requests? Because I know sometimes people. I always like to hear what people are trying to offer for a knife.
Yeah, I primarily sell them. I mean, there's been times the guys online that I've bartered with, and some of them are return customers. Like all of a sudden, they like won a giveaway or something like that. I had one of my customers recently won a giveaway from Brad Vaughn over at Savage Crafts and got a bunch of handle material. I was like, you can never have too much handle material.
No, no.
He goes, cut me a break on this knife if I send this to you. I was like, oh yeah. So I mean, certain situations like that where I can use it for stuff further down the line. I got a bunch of exotic hardwoods and things, so I was like, yeah, I'll definitely do that. I think the craziest one I had was actually local. I mean, I've had a couple of guys. I had a pizza guy come up to my door one time, and so I had my shirt on. He's like, "You make knives?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, I want a knife made," and I'm actually working on his right now. He spent like 7 or 8 years in Japan, and I'm actually making a Japanese style tanto, and it's not gonna be touched by a grinder. It's all gonna be hand out with rasps and everything else because he wants it made like perfect. I mean, I've had to go out and buy Japanese books to see how they actually did theirs, so I get that done. But I think the craziest one was I was out in the garage, and I work out with the garage door open all the time. Guy was going by in a truck with a mower in the back. He jumped out, so I guess he's seen me working out there. He comes out and he goes, "What do you make knives?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "I'll mow your lawn if you make me a knife." I'm like, and he goes, "I'll throw in a case of beer." And I'm like, "How many times you mowing my lawn?" He goes, "Oh, today." I'm like, "Walmart's that way, and you can get a lot of cheap knives up there." I said, "You're gonna have to mow my lawn more than once." I was like, I get stuff like that constantly. So, sometimes if I can work out something like that, especially local guys, if I got the guy to mow my lawn, for the rest of the year, yeah, sure, I'd make him a knife.
Nice, nice, nice. Awesome. All right, man. Well, hey, that's cool to hear. So tell me a little bit about the company. Let's do a quick recap and tell me where we can buy your knives and some of your social media links, and I'll also put that information in the comments of the video.
Okay. I mean, my primary one here is my Facebook business page under Fury's Urban Combat Knives Unlimited. It's got all my contact information, my phone number, and all that. It's my cell, so you can text me or call me on it. I'm also on LinkedIn, and it's under Denny Furey. Um, so you can get a hold of me over there as well. I'm actually in the process of trying to work on a web page or blog page type deal where I have a catalog of the knives I've made so far, so people get a feel of what they're looking at. Get an idea of stuff I make, and go from there as far as building things up from there. Um, uh, I mean, that's the main spots that they can get a hold of me. I mean, just with that alone, I'm booked up constantly. So I
Awesome.
mean, I think if I went out any larger, I don't think I'd be able to keep up with the demand.
Nice, nice. Okay, cool. Hey, man. Well, I appreciate you, meeting with us today and doing the interview, and we look forward to, the knives that you're going to be showing on Facebook. I know you post a lot, and then I know I kind of talked about a little bit, but the project you and I are working on. Stay tuned for that, guys, because it's going to be a badass friction folder. You have anything else you want to say in closing?
Just give a shout out to some of the guys that I get stuff from and all that. I mean, Mike Cleveland, Scott Horn, Matt Peterson, who's helping us with this project we're working on. Rob Carper, Ryan Forbes, Copper Shed, Matt Humphreys, Brad Vaughn over Savage Crafts, and Rob Belcher, Plantstone. I mean, they all make some great products and everything else, and are great asset to this knife making community.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, man, thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thanks for having me, man.
Take care.
Appreciate it. You too.